Another thing I love about this place is the food. The Middle Eastern food. It's so good, you guys. They're into spices and putting all that flavor in their food, and it's just so flavorful. I love spicy food, and so this is like right up my alley. Even though I don't really eat too much, the only thing I really eat here, like majority of the time, is their falafel. You know, and things that go with the falafel, but I'm like the falafel queen here. That's all I eat. Falafel sandwiches, falafel on the side, because it's so good here. And I'm vegan, and you know, unfortunately they don't have a lot of vegan venues. You know, like back in America, there's a lot of restaurants specific to vegan food. You don't see too much of that here, so I have to accommodate. But their food overall is really, really good here, you guys, and the variety, you know, the food here is very universal. Like you can get everything, every type of genre of food that you can get in the States. You know, they have really good Italian, they have really good Greek, you know, it's very universal. The food is very universal and it's very good. I didn't know what to expect with the food neither, you know, so I'm very happy with the food. I also like how easy the life is here. If you're from North America, as I am, I just feel like the life there is just so difficult. Like you have to go through so many hula hoops.
What's your credit score like? How much money is in your bank account? Oh, your record has to be squeaky clean. Who do you know? What can you do for me?
There's just so many hoops, prejudice, classism, and racism, and it's just so much stuff that you have to go through to get anything and to do anything there. It's like the complete opposite here. Like the life is just so much easier here. Like you don't have to go through all those hula hoops to get anything, to have anything here. They don't have a system set up like they do in America for housing, you know, which is very oppressive to me. I feel like a lot of the standards that are set up in America are very oppressive. Just like they punish poor people for being poor, and it's not fair, you know, it's not fair. It's a very oppressive setup. But here, you know, it's not that way at all. Like it's more, it just feels more like there's more equality here. You know, it's not about classism. It's not about social status or who you know or, you know, what your credit score is and this and this and that. All that is pretty much irrelevant when it comes to a lot of things. In America, they go by the book. You know, there's no room to make judgment calls, you know, and I think the rule book, it's a guide. You know what I mean? All situations shouldn't be judged black and white. It shouldn't be set in stone like that, right? It's a guidebook, and then you use your intuition and your gut and your wisdom, and you make decisions based upon the guide. I feel like America is becoming just very black and white. You know, there's no wisdom being used. There's no discernment being used. There's no compassion being used. There's a video about when I moved into my first place and how, you know, the landlord was willing to work with me. And I was just like, wow, you know, you're just not used to that coming from America. I mean, they pretty much set their own terms up as they go. If you can't stay in your lease the entire year for whatever situation, you just go sit down and you talk to them. And most of the time, they're just easygoing. Like, they're willing to work with you. Like, nothing's just set in stone here. Like, stuff happens, right? Everything's not legal and contracts and this and that. And I'm going to take you to court if you don't do this and that. It's just not that way here. You can move about freely without being oppressed, thinking, oh, I'm not going to be able to have housing because I don't have a certain amount of money, or I don't have a certain credit score, or, you know, I have my record is not spotless. Systems that are set up in America just doesn't exist here, and it just makes life here feel so much easier, because it does make life a lot easier.
الله أكبر الله
Another thing about the culture is Jordanians are very highly, their morals and their values I really agree with. Their morale overall I agree with. You know, like when you really get to know Middle Eastern people, talk to them and see where they are, where their psyche is, where they stand on their morals and their values. It's like, yeah, that makes sense. You know, I'm not a Muslim, but, I agree with their religion more than I do with Christianity as far as their morals and their values go. I just feel like the Muslim culture here, they're more closer to actually practicing what they believe versus from what I'm used to seeing back in America when it comes to Christianity. That's all I'm saying. So they take their religious beliefs very seriously, and they, they're really in practice with it. It's really respected, and I'm sure a lot of them here assume that I am Muslim because I cover my hair. And, I might wear like something like this where my shoulders, are out, whatever, or, like a top where half my collarbone is out or something. And they're looking at me like, they're confused. They're like, I don't know if she's Muslim, but if she is, ooh. They just look at me confused. They can't figure out, what I am. I'm dark-skinned. Clearly, I'm not Jordanian, but I kind of dress like a Muslim and I kind of don't. So they're just, they kind of looking at me like, I don't know what category to put her in. I respect their culture and their moral and value structure here. I really do. It makes sense. It works. Like, there's such a peace here, and everybody gets along. Like, you just don't hear about violence. Like, nobody's over here getting kidnapped and raped, and there's no drug issues. It's very peaceful here. Jordan is that's another thing. Jordan is a very, very safe country. That's another thing I love about this place. I feel so safe here.
Hey there, everybody. Scudder here today. And today I would like to discuss with you folks the tribulation period and where there might be a safe place for folks to be during that time. Let me get you started out here with just a little bit of scripture. In Revelations 12:6 we read, "The woman fled into the desert to a place prepared for her by God, where she might be taken care of for 1,260 days. The woman is symbolic of Israel. 1,260 days is exactly 3.5 years. That is the standard lunar prophetic years of the Bible, with 360 days each. And if you want to read further scripture in relation to this, you can read Matthew chapter 21 verses 15 through 22, Luke chapter 21 verses 20 through 24, Zechariah chapter 14 verses 1 through 3, and Joel chapter 2 verses 1 through 10. Now, there are a lot of people these days especially who have been talking about the end times and what they're going to do during the reign of Antichrist. And there are whole ministries built on the basis of fleeing to the wilderness and things like that. And I'm not sure that I completely agree with that sentiment. I think that Christians gathering together in groups or in communities to help each other survive during the tribulation period is a smart thing. And I think that we're all going to need to rely on each other to get through that period. But there is almost virtually no place on earth that's going to be protected during the Antichrist reign. Now, I know people talk about leaving places like the United States because they think that it's Babylon and Babylon is going to be destroyed. Then you need to realize that there's going to be almost nowhere on earth that is going to be saved from his power. But I did find something the other night when I was studying, and there is actually going to be one area on this earth that is going to be protected from the Antichrist reign. Let me read you this. This is in the book of Daniel. Okay, I am in chapter number 11 in the book of Daniel, and we're going to go down to verse 40. It says, "When the time for the end comes, the king of the south will push at him, while the king of the north will attack him like a whirlwind with chariots, cavalry, and a large navy. He will invade countries, overrun them, and move on. He will also enter the land of glory, and many countries will come to grief, but these will be saved from his power: Edom, Moab, and the people of Amman." Now, if you look on a map of the Middle East, you will see that those areas, Edom, Moab, and Amman, are actually areas that are in Jordan. If you've never done a study on that area, it's actually quite interesting. And in that area is the area of Petra, which was an ancient city. And I'm going to read you some interesting stuff about that. Let me read this to you. The ancient capital of Edom was the city of Basra. The Hebrew Basra means sheepfold. It lies 30 miles southeast of the Dead Sea in present-day Jordan. The present Jordanian city of Basra is not on any modern road, but is a remote mountain village of difficult access. Ancient Basra at the same location, however, was on the main northwest trade route known as the King's Highway. You can find that in the book of Numbers, chapter 20:17. The city was noted for its weaving industry and exports of dyed garments. Edom as the territory allotted to Jacob's brother Esau is documented in Genesis 36. A man named Basra was a descendant of Seir the Horite, who inhabited the land before there were any kings in Israel. The historical record in Deuteronomy includes this parenthetical note. The Emites used to live there, a people strong and numerous, and as tall as the Anakites. Like the Anakites, they too were considered Rephaites, but the Moabites called them Emites. Horites used to live in Seir, but the descendants of Esau drove them out. They destroyed the Horites from before them and settled in their place just as Israel did in the land the Lord gave them as their possession. That's in Deuteronomy 2:10-12. Edom's long-standing enmity against Israel ultimately brought God's judgment on Edom. Obadiah the prophet devotes his short but potent message to the judgment of Edom, telling us of her pride and arrogance and the reasons for God's final judgment on these two people. Amos wrote of the impending judgment on Edom. This is what the Lord says, "For 3 sins of Edom, even for 4, I will not turn back, because he pursued his brother with a sword, stifling all compassion, because his anger raged continually, and his fury flamed unchecked. I will send fire upon Teman that will consume the fortress of Basra." That is in Amos chapter 1, 11, and 12. Several writers have written fine descriptions of Petra and the history of that region of ancient Edom. The Nabateans displaced the descendants of Esau probably in the 6th century BC. They controlled the entire region as far north as Damascus until the 1st century. Gotta switch page here, sorry. Extensively in Jordan and the area around Basra and Petra was well populated as late as Roman times. Today, the area is desolate and sparsely populated because of the very low rainfall and scarcity of natural resources there. South of Basra, 20 miles on the King's Highway, is Petra, the capital city of the Nabateans. Tourists to this vast mountain-enclosed ancient city in the Wadi Musa generally enter from the east on foot or on horseback through El Sik, a 6,000 feet long narrow cleft with 100 to 500 foot high cliff walls. Tombs and houses carved into the bedrock over the vast area at Petra will be suitable for temporary housing many thousands of people. Now, if you've ever looked at pictures of Petra, it's quite amazing. It is this entire city built into the mountains. It's just amazing, and it has stayed intact all of these years. It has also not been populated for a very, very long time. So in order for it to stay intact as it has, you know that God's hand has had to be in that. Now, I am under the belief that if a person is in that area, that is going to be the only safe place on earth during the Antichrist reign. We don't know why God chose that area in particular. We just know that he did. So, anyone who thinks that they're going to be in the United States or the United Kingdom or anywhere else and be safe from what the Antichrist has planned, especially for Christians and Jews, then you've got another thing coming. So you guys might want to do some research on this and do some studying. I'm not telling everybody to pack up their bags and move them and their families over to Jordan. That's something that you would have to pray about. But we do know that when the temple is desolated, then we know that God has told.
I feel safer here than I did in America. I do. Just because their security measures here are superb. And like I said, the crime is just so low here. It's lower than it is in America. Like it's Jordan is safer than America. Look at the stats. Look it up. It's true. You don't hear about people getting murdered and kidnapped and raped. There's no drive-bys. There's no drug busts. You don't ever hear about any gun violence here. There's no crackheads walking down the street here. You don't see it. It's a very safe, family-oriented country. Like, I love that about this place. Women walk around, in the middle of the night by themselves. I walk my dog around the neighborhood 10 o'clock at night, at midnight, and I feel safe. I'm not worried at all. Like, I feel very, and their penalties for committing crimes here are so harsh. Nobody would even dare to do it. Like, they don't play here. It's just like a no mercy justice system, and I think a lot of Jordanians, they just respect it. I mean, I'm not doing anything illegal, so it wouldn't make a difference for me anyway. But people who are into the illegal lifestyles won't be here because they wouldn't get away with it. So it makes it very safe. Security measures, like for an example, like nothing comes in the country without customs checking it. It can get very inconvenient having to pay all the custom fees and having that delay of them having to check your stuff before you can actually pick it up or they deliver it to you. But nothing gets into the country without customs going through it. You're not having, like, porn and sex toys here are illegal. When I say their morale and their value system is very high, I mean that. They don't even allow certain things into the country here. You're not shipping drugs or guns. Anything that is unsafe they won't even allow into the country. You can't ship it. Everything that is shipped here has to go through security, the customs. Has to go through customs before you can even pick it up or have it delivered to you. Like you can't go to the mall without going through a security checkpoint. So that's another thing I really love about this place. It's a very, very safe country. So yeah, overall, I am enjoying my stay in Jordan. It's a beautiful country, beautiful capital here. I love it. The weather, the architecture, the hospitality, the affordable health care, how safe it is. I really, really enjoy it. I'm going to venture out and check out, other parts of the country. But as far as Amman, Jordan, it's good. It is good. I am enjoying it here. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.